let me introduce my company. My company, which is called the Bleu. Le Cordon Bleu is actually French. Literally means the blue ribbon. It is also synonyms of a good food and a good chef in French. It is actually the historical concept. It is actually since the Henri III, which is 16th century, actually they have a holy spirit. All the knights actually hung the medals, which is the blue ribbon, which is called the Le Cordon Bleu. And my company is actually over 120 years traditions, and then currently we have operating over 35 schools in 15 different countries. So in this regard, actually, when we work in the local country, we are not only promoting that the French culture and French the culinary arts. We also looking for at all the possibility and then how we can actually develop that the local cuisine to globally. So this is what we are doing it. And let's move to that Korean side first. In Korea, in 2005, our company is actually being asked by the government. It's actually related with the kimchi promotion. I'm not going to talk further about the kimchi because another speaker is going to talking about all the detail about the kimchi in the afternoon. But what we've done is we're using the kimchi in collaborate with the French cuisine. Probably all of you heard about it, the kimchi, but probably not. You guys don't know exactly how you can consume the kimchi in Korean culture. Probably you know that the barbecue, if you go to the Korea or Korean restaurant, yes, you can do the barbecue and then you can actually put the kimchi together. That is pretty much done. In many cases, in the Western people, when they come to Korea, they actually eat the kimchi like a salad, like appetizer. But we don't consume the kimchi in Korea, not like this. So this is actually a very important moment, how Korean government think, how they actually promote the kimchi proper way in the Western culture. So we actually developed 20 different French cuisine using all the kimchi products. So this is actually done for almost 2 years' time. We developed the kimchi, and we finalized at the 20 recipe, which is actually the book in here. So you can see that only the cover pages, but I actually bring this couple of books in here. So we developed the 20 recipe, but mainly this is all the French cuisine, which is very familiar with all the Westerners. But all the ingredient and the main focus is actually we using the kimchi with this. After successfully done with this publishing, we actually having the 4 different languages. So in Korean, of course, and Japanese, and French and English. Once we published, we actually donated all those books in all the library and the schools in the European countries. After that, all our chefs actually have a demonstration like this, and there was also some photo what we've done in each country. Mainly we've done in Paris, and then also we've done in Berlin, and also even we've done in Mexico City. And that was a great successful story of the Korean food globalization, especially for the kimchi, how we can actually approach the Western countries. And for your further information, this is actually some of our dishes actually we created. Probably you can very familiar with this. I know you guys are all interested in all the food and the gastronomy, and this is exactly the French food. The first one is a galette, but as you can see, that is actually the kimchi is in there. And on the left side, on the right side, this is actually kimchi fritter. And this is also wrapped by the kimchi in the camembert cheese, which is one of my favorite dishes, actually. This is a very good marriage in the fermented food is kimchi and the cheese. And the other one is actually one of the main dishes. And the left one is actually wrapped by the kimchi in the chicken. And the other one is actually the beef dishes, but sauce is made of kimchi. Speaking of kimchi sauce, everybody knows the ketchup. Yes, we know that there's a lot of argue which country is actually the origin of a ketchup. Yes, but let's forget about those originality. But everybody knows ketchup is made of a tomato. Then this is the key point. But our concept is, why not the kimchi? Sauce made of a kimchi. So this is actually the much more easier approach to the Westerners. And then they can actually understand that, oh, this is actually the good taste and good flavor of kimchi. Then I actually want to step further to actually taking the real kimchi. This is actually the approach. So this is one of the concepts we developed, this kimchi sauce. And this one is actually the bread and the dessert. Dessert is one of the difficult part, to very strong taste of a kimchi with the sweet. But always our chefs are creativities. So as you can see on the right side, this is actually the kimchi leaves. We actually dried it, and then we're using it as a garnish, which is a fantastic harmonization with the sweet. So those are also the part of the development in the dishes. Okay, let's move to the Japanese one. Japan is actually the little bit different approach from the Korean side. Recently, my company has a collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture in Japan, which is 2016. They actually asking us to selecting the 16 international students, and we actually offering that bursary, the Japanese cuisine programs. And we actually selecting that 11 different nationality, and Japanese government, they providing that the 1 month time of a Japanese language program for all of them. After that, actually the Cordon Bleu, we actually offer that Japanese cuisine program. Again, my company, we actually providing that the French culinary program, but we are also fully support that the local cuisine's globalization. So this is the one we actually participated, and 1 month's time, all the students, they are actually learn the Japanese cuisine by our master chef. After that, Japanese government actually arranged it that all the internship program hold nationwide in Japan. So as you know, Japan is actually the most Michelin star holding country than any other country. So all our students, they actually have a chance to working in the Michelin star restaurant in all over the Japan for 6 months' time. And during this time, all program expenses is actually covered by the government. And this is only allowed professional international students. So this is approach of them. And those are actually the example of all the Michelin star restaurant. All our students actually had an opportunity to train in the Japanese culture and Japanese restaurants. And I'm really very proud to say today, one of the students is actually from Turkey in here. And he's actually one of our students has successfully done. And then this is actually his Instagram. And Mr. Sinan, I believe that he's here today. Then I'm very proud of him, and then we are also very proud of him. This is a real approach than Japanese cuisine's globalization. He is the real ambassador of Japanese cuisine. After the program, he came back to Turkey, and he actually working in his own restaurant. And just for this photo, this is actually the day of the graduation ceremony. Probably you guys noticed that the Japanese chef, he is actually the chef Murata. He is being considered as a god of Japanese cuisine in Japan. So he has actually several Michelin stars on his hand already, and then he's a really, really god level in Japan. So he is actually working with him together, as also learned from him as well. And this is currently that he is actually doing in Istanbul in here. So he is actually promoting the Japanese cuisine, but actually he is Turkish. And then this is actually the real practical globalization of the food. And he is actually bring the Turkish taste to the older people, but he really keeping that the global, the standard of Japanese cuisine techniques and skills. And this is what we actually want you to, helping that the Japanese government to do this. So in conclusion, I believe that in terms of a local cuisine's globalization, there is no right answer. Because the food and taste is a very subjective concept. Everybody has actually different idea, everybody has a different palate, everybody feeling differently. But at the same time, the food is actually traveling with the people. That means once the food is moving, Japanese food is moving to the Turkish, because of ingredients, because of different types of water, that could be changing the taste. But that doesn't mean this is not the Japanese food. So in this regard, the most important thing of a globalization of a local cuisine lies in the education. Of course, education is really the time-consuming project. I know quite many government, Korean government and Japanese government, they actually be in a hurry to make a successful outcome right away. Yes, they can do this. But in the long-term point of view, this is not really effective investment to succeed their globalization of their local cuisine. So this is the one thing I really pointed out. The education is a key point. My last point is I already mentioned it. The last point is the technique is actually the important. And then ingredient can be localized. And for instance, Turkey, yes, have a beautiful actually the culinary arts history. Then it can be globalized for all over the world. But how you can do this? Teaching the students globally, then all the techniques, and make them back to their country and using their own ingredient in their country, because it's much easier to approach that the local people. Then I would like to say it, this is actually the glocalizations. Glocalization is actually a concept of globalization plus the localization. This is really the hybrid concept. So without this, it is quite difficult to see that the long-term successful outcome in government perspective. So I would like to close my presentation in here. But once again, food is actually the really different from each people. One of a good example is actually the cappuccino. Everybody knows cappuccino. Cappuccino is originally from Italy. But historically, cappuccino is only drunk in the morning time, very short amount of coffee. But nowadays, everybody actually drinking that cappuccino. If you go to the Starbucks in some franchise coffee shop, everybody's just drinking like a grande size, venti size at any times. But we still believe this is a cappuccino, and this is actually from the Italy's. The most important thing is originalities are never going to be changing. So let's be focused how we can actually globalize that local cuisine, but thinking about the local people's taste, local ingredient. This is actually what we actually moving forward for every country's globalization of their local cuisines. Thank you very much.